Okay, I think we're gonna start. All right. So, welcome again to our Discovery Deep Dive webinar. We're gonna break down exactly how home recommendations and ads actually work. All right, next slide. So, my name is Peter, and I am a product manager on Creator Analytics. And right here we have someone else.
Hello, I'm Sandeep. I'm a product manager on the Discovery and responsible for the home recommendation algorithm.
Hey there, I'm Ethan, product manager on our ads team.
All right. As you can see, we have a very low tech setup here. All right. Okay. So next slide. So here's our agenda today. First, Sandeep is going to walk through how the recommended for you algorithm works. And then I'm going to talk about how you can understand discovery and acquisition better using your analytics. And finally, Ethan is going to talk about how ads can help you grow faster. All right. So Sandeep, do you want to kick things off for us?
Yeah. So I'll talk about how our recommended for you algorithm works, which has many misconceptions, and we have tried to do our best to be fairly transparent. And this is another opportunity for us to share with you how exactly it works and what factors we take into signal. Next slide. Before I talk to you about how Roblox recommendation algorithm works, I want to give you a real world example to get and understand conceptually how this might work. Imagine you're in a foreign city in a street where looking to pick a restaurant to go to. Say I am walking down the street, I see many different colored doors with menus outside posted and highlights, and I will decide and pick one based on what I find interesting. Let's say I pick a sushi restaurant which also serves sake. Sounds great to me. I go in, I order the sushi, I eat what I get, and then I also have a sake. And then maybe I didn't enjoy the food as much, and next day perhaps I got sick from the fish that wasn't the best. Do you think I would recommend this place to my friends or family visiting the street? Probably not, right? Same principle goes for our Roblox recommendation algorithm. Say on the other hand, I see these streets, and then on the street I see a lot of different restaurants, and I pick this sushi place, and I go in, I order the fish, and it was one of the best sushi experiences I ever had. And sake was very dry and crisp, perfect to my liking. I loved it so much I ordered more plates of sushi and spent a lot of money and time there. Do you think I would recommend this to my friends and family? Absolutely, right? I would not only go back to this restaurant, but I would also go back with friends and tell many people that I know, hey, you should check this place out if you go to the street. That's essentially how our recommendation algorithm works. Think of these colorful doors and menus posted outside as the thumbnails and title and description for the games you have on Roblox. And looking at many of these games, users will say hey, do I want to pick and play this game or not? And that's the first point of entry. And unlike there are 5, 10, 15 restaurants on a street, Roblox has millions of games and many hundreds of thousands created and published every day. And there are hundreds of millions of users. So, how do we actually do this recommendation at scale of millions of users and games? And let's dive in a little bit more. Next slide. And like I said, the recommendation for you takes into two different aspects. One is the signals that tell us this game is good, which could be in the restaurant analogy, the fish was good or the menu was good and the service was good, a lot of other factors. And based on what we think you like, I may prefer sushi, but Peter, on the other hand, prefers pasta. So he may not like the sushi restaurant. We need to factor both of those into how our recommendation algorithm works. Next slide. And I told you there are millions of Roblox games and experiences that we need to find a smaller set to display on homepage or recommended for you, because we can't show millions of experiences and nobody is going to scroll through or find all of them. So we do that in two steps. There is one stage called the retrieval, where for every user we distill down the millions of experiences that potentially could be shared to a few thousand, few tens of thousands. And that stage of the retrieval, we take signals that come from a variety of different sources. Users may play a game from ads. Users may play because you as a developer sent the game through a text message to your friends and family, and they started playing games. Maybe you posted on Discord and they got direct link from that, they played that. Or maybe you told some people and they went to Roblox search and searched for that game and played. All those information factors into our retrieval to get like a few tens of thousands of games, which is the initial list. And then we rank them. In the ranking stage, we distill down to few hundred, 150, 200 games to be shown on homepage in the recommended for you section. And the ranking stage is where we take into account the signals that tell us which game is the most relevant for which user, and should this game also get more distribution. Are the users enjoying and coming back to that game, or are they not? So the ranking stage takes into factor only if you view, click, and play from the recommended for you section. It does not take into signal if the user plays from search, ads, or other direct links. Only if you click and play from recommended for you section, the signals that drive the home recommendation algorithm are considered for ranking. Next slide. So what are those 6 signals that drive the home recommendation ranking, right? One is qualified playthrough rate or quality playthrough rate, which is essentially like users saw your thumbnail on the recommended for you section, they clicked and they played through. Not only did they just play, but they actually stayed for a long enough time and engaged deeply enough for it to count as what you call qualified, that they spent enough time and like did other actions that meaningfully convey it was not just you entered the restaurant and you came out, but you actually deeply engaged in the game, right? And then there are a set of signals which tells how much did they enjoy and how deeply did they play the game. That includes 7-day playtime, 7-day play days, 7-day Robux spent, 7-day Robux spend days, and the 7-day intentional co-play days, which tells us users not only loved like playing the game and spending time and they repeatedly came back to play, but they also spent money this through Robux, and they repeatedly did so through Robux spend days. And also they brought their friends together to play with them jointly. So all these signals tell us not only did the user enjoy the game, but they enjoyed it deeply over the next few days or 7 days, so that we can tell this game is good for broader distribution. So just again, like I want to flag, each signal here is only from users who joined from recommended for you is taken into ranking of these signals. Next slide. And all of these signals and how they're doing for each of your games is visible on the Creator Analytics dashboard. It gives you like how is the trend. There are some benchmarks to give an understanding of how your game performs relative to what we think of like benchmark or similar games. However, benchmark is not used into ranking of recommendation itself, as we have told many times. So that's essentially covers how recommendation works. If you have any questions, feel free to post it on the Q&A and we will take them up. Now, share to Peter. Yeah.
No, hang on. I have a question, Sandeep. I'm gonna
Okay.
push you. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Sounds great.
All right. So let's say, and Nick, do you mind playing the video? Yeah. Okay. So let's say like my home recommendation signals, right? Like they're all pretty good. They're all pretty flat. They're not growing or declining, and I also haven't made any real game updates. But then for some reason, my home recommendation impressions just went down over the past week. So what's up with that, dude?
Got it. So you're saying basically you didn't make any changes,
Yeah.
and your game has steady signals, all these 6 signals,
Yeah.
but somehow your impression is down 25-30%.
Yeah.
Okay. I get this question a lot. I've talked to some of the developers and explained to them. So there are essentially 4 factors that impact impressions you get on your game. One is what you as a developer do, what game updates or changes did you make? That's one factor. Second factor is what did Roblox do, or what did we do as a discovery algorithm team? Did we change anything? Those are the 2 factors. That's very easy to know. And when Roblox Discovery makes any algorithm changes, we will share it very transparently through the forum post and other channels so that you're aware. There are 2 other factors which has an impact on how many impressions your game gets. Mm-hmm. One is the total number of users or people visiting Roblox on any given day, which has seasonality. When the school summer break begins, there's a lot more users coming to platforms, and like particularly on weekends. And when the school begins on a Monday, there's not that many users. So there is some level of number of users who come into Roblox that play a factor. That's one. And finally, the last part is what is the competitors of your game are doing, which may be very hard for you to understand, which is your signals in these home recommendation signals may be steady, but if there are Ethan, who's like a competitor for you, his game, let's say, is improving those home recommendation signals steadily. Their improvement is 50%, say week on week or year on year. So that tells us there are more users who are enjoying that game more than your game. So that's another factor where, given there's only a fixed number of users who come to Roblox homepage, the impression distribution changes, and that could be like a factor why your impression is dropped 25-30%.
Got it. Okay, that's a great explanation. I guess the point here is that, as a developer, you don't have control over all four of these factors, right?
Correct.
But the one that you do control is like making your game more fun, and like hopefully these 6 signals are like a proxy to how fun and engaging your game is.
Yep.
Right.
And
So
we
it's-
will continue to look into like what's a great game and what signals we should consider that tells us users are loving this game and keep coming back and playing with their friends and enjoying it to the max. So we will continuously look into what other signals we should consider. And when we do make a change, we will be very transparent and tell you. And today, these are the 6 signals that we're using for recommendation algorithm.
Okay, awesome. All right, thanks, Sandeep. All right, so let's talk about understanding your acquisition a little bit more using analytics. Next slide, please. And then next slide. Okay. So Sandeep just covered looking at your home recommendation analytics page to understand the signals that are driving home recommendation impressions, right? And that is probably the most important channel for a lot of games. But I think it's also really important to just monitor your overall game health metrics and benchmarks. Like these are just like industry accepted metrics like day one retention, playtime, payer conversion rate, and more. And we recently added ability for you to choose your comparison set, whether that's similar experiences that your users also like to play, or games that are just in the same genre as you. So you can pick the benchmarks that you want to compare against. And I want to emphasize here that the metrics shown in this scorecard are overall across all your acquisition sources, right? And as Sandeep mentioned, your home recommendation impressions and discovery is based only on the behavior of people who join your game from home recommendations. So in addition to looking at kind of like your overall metrics and benchmarks, I think it's also important to do the next step. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. So it's also important to look at metrics like retention by acquisition source. I mean, the reality is like a lot of games on Roblox have retention problems. Just problems keeping users to come back. So we recently made this update, so you can actually break down your overall retention D1, D7, D30 by acquisition source. So let me give you a quick example of this, right? So say you really promoted your game on social media, and you acquire a ton of new users from the other source, which is primarily external links. So if you look at this chart, you can see that the users that you acquire from social media actually have much lower D1 retention than like home recommendations, for example, right? So this change in traffic mix likely led to a decline in your overall D1 retention. But you can see here that your home recommendations D1 retention actually stayed relatively flat. So even though your overall retention declined, it may not have had a negative impact on your home recommendation discovery. It could just be primarily because you acquire a bunch of new users from the other source that had lower retention. So that's why if you see changes in your retention, like your overall retention, it's important to look at this traffic source graph to see if these changes are just because of traffic mix changes or because you actually make some updates to your game. All right. So now I want to head over to Ethan to talk about Ads Manager and ads.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter and Sandeep. Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ads Manager and ads on Roblox and how they can help grow experiences. Next slide, please. Okay. So first, I want to just call out where ads even show up on Roblox. So, and I'll kind of talk about this. For example, like I have a small experience on Roblox. It gets about like 5,000 new users per day. And when I run ads, from my own experience, I'm always curious, where do those ads show up? And so here's where they show up. They show up on the homepage. There's a sort on the homepage called Sponsored Sort. So ads can show up there. And we also recently published a dev forum post saying we're starting to experiment with ads within the RFY sort. So you may start to see your games showcased across the homepage, for example, within RFY. So number one, ads can show up on the homepage of Roblox. Number two, ads can show up on the search page. And so right now, you can run search ads via our classic ads manager, but coming soon, when you sponsor experiences from the new ads manager, your games will show up on both home and search in order to drive the best performance for your goal. Next slide. Okay, so now let's zoom back a little bit. So I have a game on Roblox, as I mentioned, gets 5,000 or so new users per day. And 6 months ago, when I wanted to run ads from my own experience, I only had one option. It was to drive visits. So I didn't really have much control, didn't have much targeting. I couldn't run ads for any particular goal, just visits. So 6 months ago, I would try to promote my game because I was getting 5,000 new users per day. I wanted more. So I'd go into ads, click visits, and then my ads would show up on the homepage to drive traffic to my experience. But again, I lacked a bit of control. However, over the past 6 months, we've launched about 40 improvements to our ads manager and ad product to help you grow your experiences. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So now when I go in to run ads for my own experience, I have 4 options. I can run ads to maximize plays. I can run ads to drive retention. I can run ads to reactivate users, and I can also run ads to acquire new users. So I'll kind of just briefly touch on a little bit about how I use those ads for my own experience, and then you can kind of get creative in terms of showcasing your experience with your own ads. So for example, when I first launched my game, I used maximize plays because I wanted to get charted. I wanted to help solve that cold start problem. So I used maximize plays, which really showed my ads to people who are most likely to play, and so that they would come into my experience. Then, as my CCUs picked up and my new users picked up, and I started to get charted via and started to get picked up by the home recommendation algo, I started to build a strategy around how I ran ads. So again, 6 months ago, I didn't really have a strategy, just drove visits. But now I've been able to build a strategy. I know I'm getting 5,000 new players per day, so just a small game, getting 5,000 new players per day from the home recommendation algo. But I personally wanted to try to get that up to 10,000 new players per day. So here's what I did. I started a new acquire new user campaign to start bringing new players into my experience. And so then I played around with the budget. I started low, and then I gradually increased as I saw results that I was really excited and happy about. Then I started getting up to that 10,000 new users per day threshold. That was my goal. But then I wanted to keep those users coming back. So I also started a drive retention campaign. So now I had one campaign running to bring new users to my experience, and I had another campaign running to drive retention. And so what those drive retention ads do is they show your ad to people who have recently played your game between 0 to 30 days. So it's a small window of people who have been recently active and who have recently played. So now I had 2 campaigns running. New users were coming in through my acquire new users campaigns. My drive retention ads were showcasing my experience to people who have recently played. And what was cool about the drive retention campaigns is I uploaded custom thumbnails purpose-built to drive people back to my experience. And so this is kind of like an underused feature today, but it's really powerful. You can upload up to 10 custom thumbnails associated with your ad campaigns. And so I had, thumbnail ABC for my new user campaign, and I had a different set of thumbnails for my drive retention, purpose-built to bring people back. Then, after a month or so went by, I realized, hey, some people haven't played in, over 30 days. How can I bring these people back? I was publishing game updates. I was improving the game dynamics and game mechanics in the experience. But I also started a reactivate user campaign. And so those campaigns can really help bring back people who have churned or who have lapsed. So people who haven't played in a while. So now I had 3 campaigns going. Acquire new users, bringing people in with a unique set of thumbnails, a drive retention campaign, bringing people who have recently played back, and a reactivate campaign, bringing back people who have churned or lapsed. And this is all on top of all of the organic traffic that I'm already getting from home recommendations, from search, and from other channels as well. So collectively, building that strategy around both organic and paid traffic helped me personally achieve my goals of bringing 10,000 new people into the experience per day and keeping them playing and keeping them happy. Cool. Okay, next slide. Okay, so once I started running those ads from my experience and I got to about 10,000 new people coming in per day, I had a question. Like many of us have had these questions. Do ads, impact my organic distribution? The answer is no. Running ads should not harm your organic distribution. So I personally had that question myself because, like as Peter talked about previously with like retention charts on Creator Analytics, when you only could see one total source, it was a little hard to tell what different traffic sources were impacting my retention. But now I can see the traffic split in my retention charts, and I can have this information now from Roblox that ads should not harm my organic distribution. So I want to really kind of call out here that if you're seeing a decline in organic impressions, basically it's an indicator that engagement of players who discover your experiences organically might be decreasing over time. So basically what ads can do here is they can help accelerate your game getting considered for organic distribution, but how much organic distribution it gets depends on the behavior signals of players who find it organically via home recommendations. So people coming from ads won't impact you getting won't impact your RFI signals. They'll just drive incremental value on top. So going back to my game example, I was getting to 5,000 new players per day organically. I wanted to get to 10,000. So I ran ads and I got that additional 5,000 per day incremental on top of the 5,000 I was getting organically from ads.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. I'm glad you answered it for yourself. All right. So now we have our the moment we've been waiting for, the Q&A. So let me sort the questions by popular. Okay. Should we just start going down the list? So First question is, at which point does the algorithm decide to no longer put a game on home recommendations?
Okay, there's been a lot of myths on this that if a game doesn't do very well in the first few days or weeks, it just gets put in a quarantine or doesn't get shown. And that is not true. At no point do we, the algorithm, decide no longer to put a game on home recommendation. Like I talked to you, you could have a game that you were once popular and then you haven't developed for a number of years. Let's say you put it on dormant mode. Nobody's playing, nobody's used on that game. And let's say you decide to revive that game and start building, making updates and sharing with your friends or whoever, and people start playing through any sources. It can be kickstarting through ads, like as Ethan mentioned, it can be through direct links through any of the social platforms or of campaigns, or even just sharing with your group text and chat with your friends and family. If users start playing that game, that triggers our retrieval engine to say hey, this game has activity, has plays from any source, and that will eventually kickstart to our home recommendation algorithm. And if we start showing that game and users click and play through from recommended for you and continue playing, the game will get featured on home recommendations without you as a developer having to do anything other than develop the game, keep updates, and users start playing that game. As long as a game is played by a number of users, it will be recommended on home. But it doesn't mean it's going to get 100 million impressions or a billion impressions, because you are at the end of the day competing with many, many other developers similar to your game for the user's attention and impression. So again, to reiterate, no point does the algorithm decide a game should not be shown on home recommendation unless you're violating some policy and safety issues.
Yeah, if you're violating some safety issues, you'll see on the Creator dashboard. But I do think you need to have like a decent, like a certain number of users to be able to calculate the signals for home recommendations, right? Like 7-day playtime and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but like that's very low. The
Yeah, it's very
threshold
low.
is extremely low.
Yeah.
No game that's like gets any users and impressions should not have any impact. And if you're seeing like, hey, you still see home recommendation impressions, but it's gone down and settled at a low base point, that doesn't mean we're penalizing or like not making increased discovery for your game. It just means that given all the signals and factors that we talked about, that is the level of impressions your game is getting at that point in time.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right, next question. Does spending a lot on ad campaigns right at launch hurt the game's algorithmic performance? I think you kind of answered this already, but you want to reiterate? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, ads. The question is, yeah, Peter just reread the question, but the question was like, basically, do I spend a lot? If I spend a lot on ads when I launch a game, does it hurt my performance? So basically, the direct answer is running ads should not harm your organic distribution. And it's kind of like that example I gave when I was kind of describing my own experience with my game. I was getting 5,000 new players. The game was kind of early. I started spending on ads. I started slow, and then I ramped up in order to get to that 10,000 or an additional incremental 5,000 new players for my game. And ads did not hurt my organic distribution there. Sandeep can kind of talk about the specific case at launch.
Yeah, I think at like launch, it should not have impact. So like as long as the user behavior across all the users is similar to what you would see in a steady state. If you just have an artificial boost to have like a lot of users come and play and they don't stay for longer time and sustained, it will not get the same level of impressions initially you were getting. So it's an artificial like signal boost, but it's not going to sustain. So that's why we continuously look into signals over a steady state period of time. And as like for the ad campaign, as Ethan mentioned, like ads should not hurt organic discovery. And the way we ensure that is only signals that users click and play from recommended for you are considered for ranking. So we do not consider ad signal for ranking and how much impression should your game get.
Yeah. Great. Let's keep going. When releasing a game, does it matter how many credits I use for ads at the start? Ethan, does it matter?
When releasing a game, I guess if the question is kind of like, what should my budget be? Spending more or less it's not gonna. Basically what that will do is, if you spend X dollars and it brings in 5,000 new players, if you double that budget, you might bring in 10,000 new players from ads. Your budget, as Sandeep kind of just talked about, a higher budget, it's not going to dictate whether your game gets like ranked on RFY or not. These are decoupled. Basically, if you spend more on ads, it will drive an incremental increase in the players you bring in from ads. So that's kind of the key takeaway. But personally, like my recommendation on like, don't just go for like a crazy large budget right out of the gate. I would say start at what you're comfortable with, start running ads, give it a little time. If you're happy with the results, you can increase. If you're not happy, decrease, and then see how it goes.
Yeah, because I think it's important to, like, when you launch a new game, to actually understand if you have good retention or not, right? Mm-hmm. And like, ads users aren't exactly a perfect replica of home recommendation users, but like you can get a sense of like, are the ads users actually retaining or not? And if the retention is terrible, then you should probably improve your game before you spend more money on ads. So yeah, okay. Okay, is it possible to get a game on home recommendations without using ads or off-platform promotion?
Yes, absolutely. There's no requirement for you to have like ad spending either on Roblox platform or off platform for the game to be considered to be ranked on home recommendations. You can have, like I said many times, like you can use some social channels you have. You can send a text message to your family and friends community. The number of plays a game needs to be considered to be shown on home recommendation is very low. So if you have like a large enough friend groups or like the followers, that should suffice if all of them play deeply and come back and play the game, which is a factor of how good the game is. If they retain and do well, you don't need to have any paid promotion either on Roblox or off Roblox to be considered. There are developers who do use it, and I've seen like some of the most popular games today on 2025 on Roblox spent less than $100 on like ads and to get that home recommendation, because the game was highly retentive. Users loved playing and they kept coming back, and that drove all the signals that tell us this game is really good and relevant to a large variety and wide number of users. But know that you don't have to develop like a most popular game. You can develop like niche games that only a certain small segment of users are finding it useful. And our job on the discovery algorithm is to find those users and show that game to that specific segment or smaller cohort of users who find that specific niche game very interesting, and they keep playing that. Showing that game to like everyone actually may hurt your recommendation like signals, and then eventually may not be that popular. So not all games are for everyone. Some games are universally popular, others are not, and that's okay. As long as you build games that your segment of users love and enjoy and keep coming back, that's all matters.
Yeah, and I think I'll just add one note to this. I've noticed like a theme of a couple questions of like, if I run ads, how does it help my game launch? And when I first started building games on Roblox, I also thought ads helped solve the cold start problem and were just great to launch games. But then what I realized, and especially over the past 6 months, we've kind of created this product, or basically what I realized is ads can now be used for other use cases. It's not just for game launches. It's to bring people back. It's to drive new users in. It's to reactivate churned users who haven't played in a while. So if you have a game with 100,000 CCUs or 1 million CCUs, ads can still drive incremental value. And so that's kind of my key takeaway there is like ads, it's not just used for launching a game, but it can help you across the entire game lifecycle. And that's a really exciting way that like I've been experimenting with. And I think, and I know some of you have been as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that only happened after Ethan took over ads. No, just kidding. No. Another thing I want to talk about is just real quick is like, I think what Santi mentioned is actually really important. So, for example, you may have a very high retention game, right, for like a niche. Let's take Santi's example, like sushi restaurant. You can drink sushi restaurant. And then the algorithm will see the high retention and probably show your game to more users. But those new users, like very often the case, you might actually see a spike in recommendation traffic, and then your KPIs might actually decline a little bit, right? Because there's a whole new cohort of users that are seeing your game for the first time, and those users might not be as into sushi as Sandeep is. So like just keep that in mind. Do you want to elaborate on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point, Peter. So basically, like what we try to do is systematically try to show your game to more different sets of users. Let's say Ethan does not like sushi at all. And then if I show like the sushi restaurant recommend to him, he's like, what's wrong with Sandeep? I don't like this. He absolutely hates it and he doesn't go back. And that tells us a signal, maybe I shouldn't recommend that game to Ethan, right? So then that's how we learn not only the user's preference and interest, but also like how widely this game is appealing. And if it's like a universal cuisine that everybody loves, then that game gets the widest distribution and popularity.
Yep. I think that's most of the questions. There's some questions about verified badges that are a little bit off topic. I think we'll skip that.
Okay.
Any other? Should we keep going or? Okay, let me give you some more hardcore questions. Okay. There's more time. So what happens if I let's say I join from home recommendations on day 1, right? And then on day 2, I actually come back to the game from search. So then like does my behavior count for home recommendations?
Yes, I think we take into consideration where is your first day play was. If that was from home recommendations, then the subsequent plays can come from continue play, can come from search, can come from any other source. We will see how you performed over the cumulative 7 days average. And then we will also aggregate that over all the users who joined your game on first day from RFI or recommended for you, and subsequently on other sources. And maybe it's through continue play, or directly they have the link to the ED experience detail page and they join directly the game from that. So all those things count if it first plays from that 7 days. And after that, we move that window to like continue to evaluate, aggregate over all users. So it doesn't matter if a few users join some different sources and how their perform metrics. It's for all the users, and we have millions of users who join multiple different games from recommended for you.
Awesome. That's a great answer. All right, guys. So I think we're probably going to wrap up now. But really appreciate all of you guys for attending, and hopefully give you some insight into how everything works. And if you have any questions, you can email Sandeep. No, I'm just kidding. You can,
Yeah.
And on behalf of all of us, we will thank you for engaging with us. Ultimately, we're just trying to reflect how fun your game is, right? Like how fun your game is should reflect this discovery. And the signals aren't perfect, and we're always trying to improve it. But like that's kind of what we're trying to do here. So yeah. So feel free to ask me more questions, async. And then, thanks again for attending.